Persistently heavy rainfall across Western and Central Europe shows no signs of stopping. More heavy rain has been forecasted for this weekend. The death toll from heavy flooding is currently on 15. 10 people died in Germany, 2 each in France and Romania and 1 in Belgium. In France, rescuers are using lifeboats on streets turned into rivers as they try to rescue those trapped in their homes. In Paris, over 20,000 people have been evacuated since the weekend while 19,000 homes are without power. French President Francois Hollande said a state of natural catastrophe would be declared when the cabinet meets next Wednesday, a necessary step to trigger compensation payments. Losses across France could reach more than $680 million according to Bernard Spitz of France's Association of Insurers. The French government is also preparing to move its headquarters from the Élysée Palace in Paris to the Château de Vincennes, a former royal castle, which is located east of the capital. The famed Louvre and Orsay museums have moved scores of artworks and precious artifacts as soldiers evacuated residents trapped in some of the capital's outlying suburbs as the River Seine broke its banks after rising above its highest level in 30 years. Officials have now erected emergency flood barriers along the Seine. Parisians were urged to stay away from the Seine, which burst its banks in many places and rose more than 6 meters above its normal level on Friday. Authorities say the river could swell to 6.5 meters in a worst-case scenario, which is much higher than the floods of 1982. The Seine rose to 8.68 meters during devastating floods in 1910. French Environment Minister Ségolène Royal said she feared more bodies could be found as water levels receded in villages in central France, some of which have suffered their worst floods in a century. Meanwhile, the Environment Ministry said, this high level should likely remain relatively stable throughout the weekend before the flooding begins to recede. The banks of Seine are normally populated with tourists at this time of the year, which is the beginning of summer. Instead, visitors are dressed in raincoats and taking pictures of the muddy floodwaters. American tourist Al Yarborough said, "We were going to go the Louvre today, and we were going to go on the boat cruise for dinner tonight and they were both cancelled. It's too bad, but we're still happy to be in Paris." The downpours brought a gloomy atmosphere in the country a week before it hosts the Euro 2016 football championships. The country is also facing protests against a labor reform. Both the Louvre and Orsay Museum, which sees a combined 12.5 million visitors a year, closed its doors on Friday so that artworks could be moved out of the basement to higher floors. The Orsay Museum says it will remain closed until Tuesday while the Grand Palais Museum also closed on Friday, as did 2 of the National Library sites. Germans deal its own flooding. Several towns in southern Germany have been devastated by flooding, and 7 people have died since Wednesday. The rise in water was so quick that practically no residents had the time to run away, police spokesman Armin Angloher said. A 72-year-old man in Trifter nearby died in hospital Friday after he was rescued from the floods. 4 people were killed earlier this week in the southern German region of Baden-Württemberg, with 4 others still missing, police in Bavaria said. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said her thoughts were with the families who have been plunged into this devastation.